friends, and good to see you. So this is our fifth session of this Village Connect series talking about Jesus' first sermon, the Sermon on the Mount. Remember, he's begun his public ministry. He's preaching and teaching and healing around the Galilee region. He becomes known and crowds start to follow him. Along the way, he calls 4 of his first disciples, of his 12 disciples, the first 4 of them. These are 2 groups of fishermen there along the seashore of the Sea of Galilee. He calls Simon and his brother Andrew, and then James and his brother John. And they start to follow Jesus along with these crowds. At some point, he sees the crowds so large, he wants to teach them, give him his first sermon recorded in the Gospel of Matthew. And he has the crowds follow him up to a mountain there on the northwest corner of the Sea of Galilee. We think it's Mount Eremos. That's what the tradition says. It's a lovely, I've stood there, it's a lovely, wonderful, sweeping lawn from a mound down to the shore of the Sea of Galilee. That's where the tradition says Jesus preached his first sermon. And he starts talking to the people and telling them these blessings, these beatitudes. And he says in Matthew 5:6, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. I think Jesus looked out at this crowd. I think these blessings came to his heart, came to his mind, came to his body because he looked out and saw the people. I think Jesus, throughout his whole ministry, was moved by compassion by what he saw. And I think on that day, he saw hungry and thirsty people. And seeing that in front of him, men, women, children, he said to his followers, his 4 disciples who were right there, and those who were listening, this whole crowd, he said, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." Oh, hunger and thirst. No doubt you've known moments when you were hungry, moments when you were thirsty. It's this hunger, it's this thirst, this yearning, desire for righteousness, not just for things that will satisfy us in a fleeting way, but for righteousness. So, hunger and thirsting, some of you know that part of my own personal spiritual discipline is to fast on a regular basis. This actually started in high school. When I was in Seattle, worshiping at the Japanese Presbyterian church, I was reading some stories about Christians and faithful followers of Jesus and read about fasting. That wasn't something I knew about. And we were on the verge of Easter, and I decided at that time that I was going to fast. I would stop eating. I would eat nothing from Good Friday all the way through Holy Saturday through Easter Sunday morning. It was just an attempt as a high schooler to see what that was like. Well, the next year I did it again, the next year I did it again, and now fasting is a regular part of my spiritual practice. Here at the church that I serve, Village Presbyterian Church, in our morning worship services, we have communion on the first Sunday of the month. Many churches follow this pattern. And so now on the first Sunday of the month, I don't eat anything from Friday evening all day Saturday until Sunday morning when we partake together there at the Lord's Supper, at the table of our Lord for communion. It's just my way of a spiritual discipline. And to be honest, Friday night's not that bad. I'm not that hungry, really. I still drink water. Saturday morning, okay, I get up and go through my routine, work out, etc., fine. But I will tell you, come Saturday afternoon or evening, that's when it really kicks in, especially if I'm watching something. If I'm watching a game or something, then I realize how many commercials deal with food. And every time I'm hungry, every time my stomach starts to rumble, that calls me into a solidarity with others throughout the whole world today who do not have what they need to eat. It calls me to remember the hungry. I've got the high privilege of fasting, choosing not to eat, but there are those who don't eat because they have no choice. And I'm called to be with them and among them. It also reminds me that I'm called to be with our Lord Jesus, who himself, before his public ministry began, after he was baptized, he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness where he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights and resisted the temptation of the devil. So for some of you, like me, you might be engaged in some kind of a fasting for your spiritual practices. That's some of what Jesus seems to be talking about when he says, "Blessed are you who hunger and thirst," not just for food, not just for drink, but for righteousness. When you're desiring righteousness, that which is right before God, before others, before all of the creation, right thought, right action, right feeling, all of that is God's righteousness. Remember, we talk about this being effectual speech. All of the Beatitudes are effectual speech, meaning that you are blessed and these things are effected as a result. You who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the effect is you will be filled. Jesus promises you will be filled. You'll be sated. You'll know what it means then to have the gift of righteousness in and about your life. It's hungering and thirsting for the right things. It's God's promise that when you hunger and thirst for righteousness, then you will be satisfied. You will be filled with the right things that God offers to us all. Hey, so in a few moments, I'd like you to talk about this. I'm asking you to talk about celebrations around food, because many of us know those celebrations. Those are wonderful and great times, especially with family and with friends. We'll talk about what it means to be hungry and to be thirsty, and what it means to be filled, and to hunger and thirst for God's righteousness in particular. I'm so glad you are with me on this journey. I am so glad you are with each other on this journey. Friends, it's my prayer every single day that we would hunger and thirst for God's righteousness in the hope and the belief that God will fill us all. So take care. Lord be with you. See you next time.